right, Alex, another opt-in is here. 5 more minutes on the clock. And today I want to talk about essentially the last step in any SDR's process, asking for the meeting. They've done their research, they've talked with someone, they've relayed value. The other party says, yeah, let's learn more. How do you go from let's learn more to actually getting time on the calendar with that person and setting up that next step? I know a lot of reps struggle with that. So would love some advice and examples from you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely something that sounds really easy to do, right? When you're going through training, it's like, oh, and then my job's over. They're already interested. Bang, bang, boom, done. Unfortunately, as with many things, it's easier said than done. Something I always struggled with is because I took the time to learn as much about the product and what I was selling as possible. I would kind of overqualify a prospect, right, to the point where I answered all the necessary questions, right? Like they checked all these boxes. They're ready for a meeting, but I think I'm doing a great job. I'll just keep going. I'll just keep having the conversation. That can work well, but it can also backfire. I'm remembering a particular time I was working it was a big data, it was a complex sell. And so I would always get to this point in the conversation where all of a sudden, like the prospect would know way more than me. It would start going over my head and I'd be like, oh no, now I don't know what's going on. And then I'd try and answer it and I'd sort of, make my way around the conversation, but I would lose that authority that I had at the beginning. And so then it became harder to close. Then they were like, oh, well, yeah, but you don't do this, right? I told them, no, we don't do that. All of a sudden, they're less interested. Whereas if we hadn't gotten onto that particular topic in the first place, and I had just said what I had eventually learned to say, like, oh, I'm not 100% sure, but our product specialist will totally be able to help you. Let me set up some time with them. That's sort of what made that flip, is saying, like, I don't need to show all my knowledge, like, to the point that I run out of it. I just need to show enough that they're interested in taking a meeting with, like I said, the product specialist who will come along with an AE and be able to answer all of their questions, even show a demo, like the visual representation, the next steps. So for me, it was a lot of times really about saying, all right, hold on. It's time to ask the question, right? You ask the qualification questions, you're good, you're done, set up the meeting. I always told myself, and this really helped, is you can ask those other questions afterwards. You can set up the meeting and then say, is there anything else I can answer for you before we hop off the line here? Half the time they don't, they're like, no, I'll just wait. But the other half of the time they're like, yeah, I do have this one quick question. Then you can answer that without all the pressure of, am I going to get this meeting set? Are they qualified? That sort of thing. I don't know. Did you have a similar strategy or did you have different challenges when it came to booking the actual meeting?
Yeah, I think you kind of alluded to one challenge, which is like overqualifying. I know I and a lot of SDRs, when they first start out, would attempt to set up a meeting with underqualified prospects. So it's like you get both sides there, where maybe you ask too many questions and you qualify somebody out, but sometimes you don't ask enough questions. And honestly, the prospect is like, why are you trying to set up a meeting with me, right? Like, I don't really know what you do or if you can help me. And I think that's the big thing that, like, when I was an SDR, I learned over time, and I know we teach it kind of early on now here at Demand Drive in our training process, is you go in with a big why. Like, why would this person ever want to talk with me? Why would they want to take a meeting with my company? Why would I bring value to them? And as soon as you understand that and you go in and you uncover that you have something that the prospect needs and they agree that there's a mutual fit, like, that should be the moment where you're like, good, I'm done. Like you were saying, like, I can go ahead and ask and see if it makes sense to bring a product specialist in on the call. Anything before that moment, you probably shouldn't be asking for a meeting. And I think a lot of reps get hung up on, like, well, I've asked all of my qualification questions. I feel like they're qualified. They kind of feel like they're qualified, but maybe they have more questions. Maybe I'll slide in a meeting ask here. And it's a little risky because maybe there isn't a fit and the prospect is like, nah, like, you didn't, I don't see the value here. So you run that risk. And then you talked about running the risk of overqualifying someone. I always looked at it as, you want to give somebody a bite of the cookie. You don't want to, like, dangle the cookie and then not give it to them. You don't want to feed them the whole cookie. You want to give them a taste of it. So they're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would like more of that cookie. And then they get the rest of it when they set up the meeting and talk with your product specialist or AE or whoever. Don't not give them the cookie, and don't give them all of the cookie. That you got to find that sweet spot in the middle.
Is this now? Are you letting them take a bite of the cookie right out of your hand, or are you just ripping off a piece and handing it to them?
Yeah, it's sort of like like feeding the animals at the zoo type thing. Like you just break off a piece and here you go. You want, is that good? Do you like that? And then they're like, yes, this is delicious. I would like some more. And I'm like, cool, here's my AE, my product specialist. They could love to talk with you.
They'll give you the rest of the cookie.
Right, yeah. But like worst case scenario, you dangle the cookie in front of the, the cage or whatever. And then they're like, yeah, I would like that. And you just pocket it. You're just going to make it bad.
Fair. Yeah. This analogy of prospects as zoo animals is losing quickly.
Yeah,
they're in cages.
Remember, your prospects are not animals, SDRs. This is a human to human business. Please treat them like people.
All right, AJ, 15 seconds. Tell everybody about opt-in.
Opt-in, quick 5-ish minute videos, actionable sales development tips, minimal fluff. You can find us on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on our Instagram, and on the website, demanddrive.com.
Bastardized.
My hat off. Change up the outfit,
Oh, yeah, good call.
Swap.
I don't have a hat.